Welcome to my channel. I really appreciate you subscribing to my channel, liking my videos, commenting on them, and sharing them. I especially appreciate you sharing them because I don't do any self-promotion. So any increase in subscribership is strictly due to you sharing my videos or YouTube putting them where people see them and catch on to them. I really can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that. I'm absolutely amazed that I've got over 240 subscribers now. I never ever would have thought that was possible. But you've done it, and you're to be commended for it. I appreciate the fact that you want to come and see my videos and watch what I have to say, and that you keep coming back. And I hope that many more people will. In this video, I want to talk about the Colorado Buffaloes in their game against Arizona State. But before I get into the video, there are some things I want to talk about first. I've discussed in previous videos how discouraged I was by the line play, and how after the SC game, the USC game, I really thought that the team had turned a corner and that they had begun to gel. But then the ASU game made it seem like they'd forgotten everything they had done in the USC game. And I was very discouraged, and I talked about how I didn't know what the problem was, but I thought that it might be the talent of the line. Well, for a while now, I've been following a fellow named Coach Hayes. And if you're not familiar with Coach Hayes, I want to introduce you to him. Because he does a show, he does quite a few shows. Some of them are very lengthy, like up to 3 hours. And he does live shows where he takes in callers and talks to the callers on the phone. But he does what he calls a good, bad, and ugly show on the games that he's interested in. And since he's a Miami Hurricane fan, that always involves the Miami Hurricanes. But he's also been doing Colorado games. And he did this one, and I'll put a link to it in the description, on the Colorado ASU game. And he talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And after watching Coach Hayes' video, I've changed my mind about the team. I don't think they lack the talent. I think they have sufficient talent to play this game against anybody. And if you watch them when they're playing, for example, the offensive line creates quite a pocket for Shedeur most of the time. It's just every once in a while they collapse. And after watching Coach Hayes talk about it and show some of the film and do slow motion and reruns and those sorts of things, I realized that what the problem is they're still not on the same page when it comes to the blocking scheme. And sometimes that hurts them. And that's the reason why Shedeur is getting sacked. Because one player makes a mistake in coverage, in pass protection, and that's it. That's all it takes for somebody to get to the quarterback. So I was a lot more encouraged after watching Coach Hayes' video. And again, I encourage you to watch it. I encourage you to subscribe to his channel. He's very interesting. And excuse me, he's very knowledgeable about football. He knows the names of schemes. He knows what players are supposed to be doing. He can point out when they're out of position or when they're not doing the right thing. And it really helps me, because I don't have that much knowledge of football, to understand what's going on better. And I told him that in a comment on this video. I really appreciate what he's doing. But again, I would encourage you to go to his channel. He covers the game in detail, goes through all 4 quarters, does quite a bit of film study, and shows you the good things they did, the bad things they did, and the ugly things that they did. Now, there's a couple other housekeeping items I want to talk about before I go to the video. And one of them is, I'm hearing a lot of comments about how Dylan Edwards should not be running up the middle. He's too small, they say. He can be tackled by fingers. I've heard that. I've heard lots of complaints about Dylan. But guess who the leading rusher on Colorado Buffaloes is? You see it, don't you? It's Dylan Edwards. And you know what his average is? 4.6 yards per carry. 4.6. That's excellent. There is nothing wrong with what Dylan Edwards is doing. Yes, sometimes you see him run into the middle and get tackled almost immediately. But that's because the blockers, the offensive line, didn't open an appropriate hole for him. Dylan does break loose and he does run for yardage from time to time. And as you can see, he has more carries than anybody else and more yardage than anybody else and a higher average than anybody else except for Charlie Offerdahl, who's only carried once. So you really can't compare one carry by Charlie to all the carries that Dylan has done. But to the people that are getting down on Dylan and saying he shouldn't be used to run in the middle, you're just wrong. You're wrong. You're not watching the game closely enough, or you're watching one play and going, oh, he's too small. Look at him. He got tackled. Everybody gets tackled when they don't open the line. I've watched Ezekiel Elliott, who was a bowling ball, get tackled behind the line of scrimmage at times. It happens. It's football. Sometimes the defense wins and the offense loses, and that's as simple as it is. But you don't go by what happens on an individual play. You go by what's happening throughout the season. And when you look at Dylan Edwards running, he's doing fine. He's got a higher average than anyone else, more yardage than anyone else. He's doing fine. There's nothing wrong with the way Dylan is running the ball. And he presents an amazing threat on the outside, which I'm going to show you when I get to the videos. I also want to comment on Shedeur. Look at his yardage. He has the most yardage in the NCAA. He's the #1 quarterback in completion yardage. And he's been sacked 35 times. Think about that. He's been sacked 35 times. He's under pressure constantly, and yet he has more yardage than any of these other quarterbacks that they're always talking about for the Heisman. Penix, Bo Nix, all of them. I think what Shedeur Sanders is doing is absolutely amazing. It is incredible that he can withstand this kind of pressure, stand in the pocket, and throw ropes and bullets and darts to the receivers. And he always seems to be able to find the open man. Coach Hayes talks about him, says his accuracy in passing is incredible. And I think we need to give him a great deal of credit for the job that he's done to keep Colorado in games and to win games when he's constantly being put under pressure like he is. So let's just stop and think for a minute about the stats and the performance of these guys and be thankful that we're getting to see this because it's incredible. This team is 4-2. They're going to play Stanford on Friday night at home. That's a game that they should win. And I'll be watching that game, and I will be watching closely to see how they perform. But they're going to make mistakes. That's just the reality of it. The hope is that they'll make less mistakes and they'll play more like they played in the second half against USC. But they didn't really play that bad in the first half, as I talked about in that video. They really didn't play that bad. They're just, they make mistakes at really inopportune times, and they hurt them. But they're doing a good job overall. Now I want to get to the video, and I've chosen 3 specific plays to show you, and there's a reason why I've chosen these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run them through from beginning on the regular speed, and then we're going to back up and look at them. So this is the first play. It's a crossing route by Arizona State, and the cornerback that's defending that pass is Cormani McClain. Now, when they played USC, Cormani McClain made some great plays. He stopped a touchdown pass in the end zone by knocking the ball out of the receiver's hands. He caught an interception on the sideline that was called back because of a penalty. And he tackled the ball handler on a kick that looked like it was going to end up being a fake kick, and tackled him behind the line of scrimmage and ended the play. So he did great, and everybody's going, why hasn't Cormani been playing in any more games? Why isn't Cormani starting? Cormani should be starting. He's an outstanding player. The fact is that Cormani McClain has a lot of skill, a lot of talent, but he also has a lot to learn, as you'll see in this particular video.
3rd and 12 for Trenton Bourget.
Now watch what happens here.
Bourget, another crossing route, has his man in stride.
You see it? That guy gained 25 yards. He had to be shoestring tackled by Shiloh Sanders, or he might have gone all the way for a touchdown. And the man that was covering him is Cormani. Look in the screen up here. Right up here at the top of your screen, you see Cormani standing there. And there's the receiver that's going to catch the pass. Now watch what Cormani does when this play starts. Okay? A guy from the defense moves up. The ball's hiked. The pass receiver takes one step and then cuts to the right. What does Cormani do? He's still backing up. Now he realizes that the receiver is going on a crossing route, and he starts trailing him, but he's lost it already. He's out of position. He's missed the opportunity to make a play on the ball. And if you follow through the rest of this play, you'll see that Cormani gets somewhat of a pick by the umpire, the backfield umpire, but he's out of the play. He's not going to make the tackle. He's not even going to be close to making the tackle. Look at him. He's 2 to 3 yards behind the guy, and the guy gets 25 yards. And you see right there, Shiloh is tackling the guy by the shoestrings. If Shiloh doesn't tackle him, that guy could go straight through that hole you see in between. Oh, come on now. Let's get right in here like this. Okay. You got a defender here. You got a defender here who's being blocked. This guy can go over towards this area here because he's got a blocker and run straight through here and go all the way for a touchdown if Shiloh doesn't tackle him, which Shiloh does, thank God. But where's Cormani? He's a bystander. He's an observer. So where's this spectacular talent that he has? Well, it's not enough to have talent. It's not enough to be a good cornerback. You got to study film. And Prime has said Cormani's not studying film. So he's not prepared. He's not recognizing the formations. He's not seeing the positions of players and understanding what they're about to do. If he was, let's go back to the beginning. If he was, where is this player, the receiver? Where is he standing? Huh? You got three receivers on the right-hand side that are clearing out, okay? And then the running back is coming up too to clear out. Why are they clearing out? Because it's a crossing route. He ought to be able to recognize that, but he doesn't because he's not doing film study. So you don't need to get on Coach Prime's butt for not playing Cormani. There's a reason he's not playing him. Cormani isn't ready. He hasn't changed and graduated from the high school game to the college game. And by the way, I took a look at the statistics today. There are some 27,000, almost 500 high schools in the United States. You know how many universities and colleges there are? 6,000. How many of those are Power 5? Maybe 40. So about 6.7% of high school students actually make it to play football at the college level. 6.7%. So you're already talking about the cream of the crop. If you can play in college, you're the cream of the high school crop already. Okay? Now, you got guys like Kermani who are way at the top of the cream, and they should be in the Power 5 schools, and they should be playing. But if they're not going to put in the effort, they're not going to watch film, then they're not going to play. It's that simple, especially when you have a coach like Prime who values preparation over playing. So now you've seen what Kermani did. Let's take a look at this next play.
Usually their number one.
Okay, now this is Colorado on offense, and what you're going to see here is Arizona State is lined up with 4 men down, 2 men behind them, and a man off to the side on the left side or right side of the offensive line. This is 4th down. They have 8 yards to go to get a first. So guess what CSU or ASU is going to do? They're going to blitz. Okay? And the line, if you watch this closely, the line does a decent job. Watch.
Talk about between Feely and Mata, they don't have the utmost confidence from this distance. Here comes the blitz.
4th and 8. Here comes the house. Sanders.
Did you see that? Let's go back and look at it. Watch the line. The line is taking on how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? No, 7. Because there's only 4 men back now. The 5-man line is taking on 7 blockers. Well, obviously, they can't get them all. Okay? But let's see what happens. The line comes up. Now there's 7 against 5. The line's doing a decent job. They've formed a pocket, and it looks pretty good. But it's a blitz. Guess what? Shedeur knows that. And look what he does. He throws the ball to Dylan Edwards right before he gets hit. And then Dylan Edwards takes the ball and runs out the sideline, gets the first down, gets another 5 yards, and then gets out of bounds. And guess where the touchdown is? Right there. See it on the right? Dylan might have had a touchdown if it weren't for that guy from ASU who managed to touch him just enough to put him off balance and get him to go out of bounds. See? So, as much criticism as the line is getting, what do you expect a 5-man line to do with a 7-man blitz? They are not going to get everyone, and they know that. The coaches know that. So they have to coach up a play that accounts for the blitz and takes care of it. And if you got a good quarterback like Shedeur, guess what you get? A first down on 4th down. That's what you get. Okay? Now, want to look at one last play.
4th and 8. Here comes the house. Sanders flips it out. Here's Edwards racing to the first down marker, and Edwards.
You are a linebacker.
Well, they're going to show this in slow-mo so you can see it better. All right, now ASU is lined up to kick a field goal. The score is 24-17. Colorado's leading, but if they get this field goal, it'll be 24-20. And remember, they scored a touchdown later, which would have put them ahead by 3 points. And if they were ahead by 3 points with 50 seconds left to go, then Colorado would have had to try to make a touchdown, and a field goal would have tied the game. They would have gone into overtime, and who knows what happens in overtime, okay? But watch this play. When the play happened, the announcer said he kicked the ball to the left. I guess, yeah, that would be his left, yeah. He kicked the ball to the left. But is that really what happened? Okay. See this man right here? That man right there? That's Carter Stoutmire. He's a freshman. Watch what he does. I'm sorry, I told you the wrong one. This is Carter Stoutmire, though, on the far right-hand side of the defensive line, okay? Now watch what he does. He gets up as soon as the ball is hiked. He cuts straight behind the blocker, comes up here, and guess what? If you back up just a hair, you can see the kicker's leg moving now. Okay? You can see the ball come up, and Stoutmire goes past it, and then where's the ball headed? Off to the left. Why? Carter Stoutmire blocked that field goal and possibly saved the game. I mean, you could make the argument that his play contributed to their victory. So those are just 3 plays that I wanted you to look at. And what I want to communicate to you is that for the most part, they're playing well. They're just making mistakes at really inopportune times. The line is not doing badly. They got 5 sacks against ASU. All in the second half, though. They've got to get better in the first half. They got to come out with fire in their bellies and fight harder in the first half. But overall, they're doing a good job. They're being coached well. The games, the plays are being called correctly. They're just not executing well all the time. They're executing well most of the time. Okay? Most of the time, not all the time. And that's what their problem is. We'll see how they do against Stanford. Hopefully they will have corrected some of these problems and they'll be playing more as a unit. I now think, looking back on it, that the improvement we saw in the second half against USC was not a mistake. It was actually the team gelling and playing relatively mistake-free football. And so after the poor performance they had against ASU, hopefully that will motivate them to come out with fire in their bellies, playing hard but playing smart and staying in their positions. And I noticed in today's well-off video that Jordan Dominic was encouraging players to go in the film room and watch film. That's a good sign, because the more film you watch, the more likely you are to recognize a play and be able to defense it better. If you remember Shiloh Sanders' 80-yard touchdown when he intercepted a pass in the CSU game, he actually said, "I saw that on film, and as soon as I recognized it, I knew what they were going to do." That's what film study does for you. And without film study, you're lost, because these offenses are employing deception, they're deploying diversion, they're deploying motion to get you confused. And you've seen it. I mean, look at the Cowboys game on Sunday. They got sucked in on a play where the quarterback handed off to a running back, who handed off to another running back, who handed back to the quarterback, who then threw a pass to George Kittle, and he was 10 yards behind the defender. Why? Because the defender wasn't doing his job. His job was to defend against the pass, not the run. But they all want to be part of the action. They all want to get in on the tackles. And so sometimes when the offense can figure out a play that will fool them, they get sucked in, and then you get a wide open touchdown pass like that. Same thing's happening in college. So without film study, you're playing with a real deficit. And that's what's happening to Cormani McLean. That's what he's going to have to fix if he wants to be a starter. And that's what the team is going to have to fix if they want to get better. They're going to have to get in the film room, look at the film, learn what the other team is doing, and not get fooled by appearances, by things that look like they're one thing when they're actually something else. So that's my analysis. If you agree or disagree with me, put something in the comments about it. I appreciate you watching my videos. I thank you especially for sharing them. And I thank God that you will live an abundant life and that you'll be healthy and live for a long time. And that God will keep you safe at all times. That He will protect you and your family and everyone that you love. And I pray that you will never be anxious for anything, but in all things, through prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, you will let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace that passes all understanding will keep your heart and mind in Christ Jesus. This is the Vietnam Era Vet, out.